Deep beneath the surface of the abandoned Camp Hero Air Force Base on the eastern tip of Long Island, a massive radar dish rotates in silence, casting a long shadow over the jagged cliffs of Montauk. What if I told you that this rusted relic of the Cold War was merely a facade for the most ambitious and terrifying experiments in human history? Imagine a world where the boundaries of time and space are not fixed but fluid, and where the human mind can be remapped, controlled, and weaponized by unseen hands. We are diving into the labyrinth of the Montauk Project, a series of alleged clandestine operations that involve time travel, psychic warfare, and the literal fabric of our reality. Was this truly a secret government operation, or is it the ultimate modern myth? The story begins with the infamous Philadelphia experiment of 1943, where a Navy destroyer was said to have vanished into thin air, only to reappear hundreds of miles away. Some survivors claimed they were transported through a temporal tunnel, and this supposed failure was not the end of the research, but rather the beginning of something much darker. By the early 1970s, the project had reportedly relocated to the secluded woods of Montauk, funded by untraceable black budgets and hidden from the eyes of Congress. The heart of these operations was the Montauk Chair, a sophisticated device that used electromagnetic sensors to translate a psychic's thoughts into digital reality. It is claimed that when a gifted individual sat in this chair, their mental projections could manifest physical objects or open portals to other decades. Can you fathom the power of a machine that turns imagination into tangible matter? As we explore these depths of psychological manipulation, please consider subscribing to our channel so you never miss another deep dive into the unknown. The narratives surrounding Montauk are often centered on the testimony of men like Preston Nichols and Al Bielek, who claimed their memories had been suppressed for years through advanced brainwashing techniques. They spoke of the Duncan Chair, where a psychic named Duncan Cameron would visualize a door into the past or future, and witnesses say that door would actually appear in the laboratory. One of the most haunting tales involves the creation of the Beast, a massive, shadowy creature that Duncan reportedly manifested from his subconscious to destroy the facility when the project went out of control. This entity supposedly tore through the concrete walls and terrorized the staff, leading to the decision to bury the base in sand and cement in 1983. The technical specifications of the base were equally unsettling, featuring the ANFPS-35 radar, which weighed over 80 tons and stood several stories tall. This massive transmitter was reportedly modified to operate at 425 MHz, a frequency that researchers believe interacts directly with the human nervous system. Witnesses describe how the radar would pulse every 12 seconds, and during these pulses, the local residents would experience sudden headaches, vivid hallucinations, and even collective bursts of aggression. Is it possible that the government was using an entire civilian population as a control group for mass mind control? The underground complex was said to span 12 levels, reaching deep into the bedrock of Long Island, where specialized vacuum tubes and massive cooling systems maintained the stability of the temporal rift. Within these levels, the project allegedly utilized the expertise of scientists brought over during Operation Paperclip, blending German aerospace knowledge with fringe occult theories. They worked on the concept of the zero-time reference, a point of absolute stasis from which all other points in time could be mapped and manipulated. Preston Nichols claimed that his job was to maintain the radio equipment, yet he frequently experienced missing time, only to find himself in different rooms with no memory of how he arrived. This phenomenon of fractured consciousness is a hallmark of the Montauk narrative, where the victims were programmed with multiple personalities to ensure total secrecy. We must also consider the story of the Montauk boys, who were reportedly abducted or recruited from the streets and subjected to the Belt of Orion, a series of intense psychic tests designed to find those with the highest latent abilities. These children were allegedly sent through the time tunnel to the year 6037, where they were tasked with exploring a ruined golden city to retrieve ancient technology. Does this sound like the plot of a science fiction novel, or is it the suppressed history of our species? The connection to the year 1983 is vital because it represents a harmonic frequency in the Earth's magnetic field, allowing for a stable bridge between 2 points in time. When the scientists at Montauk powered up their equipment on the 12th of August, 1983, they allegedly locked onto the signals of the USS Eldridge from 1943. This created a dangerous loop that threatened to tear the very atmosphere apart, leading to a frantic effort to sabotage the generators. This temporal lock was not just a side effect, but the primary goal of the shadowy figures running the operation, who sought to create a permanent rift in reality. Witnesses claim that during this event, sailors from the 1943 experiment actually walked through the portal and into the 1980s laboratory. Can you imagine the sheer terror of waking up 40 years in your own future, surrounded by technology you cannot comprehend? Al Bielek claimed to be one of these men, asserting that his original identity as Edward Cameron had been erased and replaced with a new life to keep him silent. He spoke of a future where the world was vastly different and where the experiments at Montauk were just one small part of a global agenda to dominate human evolution. The psychological techniques used on the subjects were reportedly so advanced that they could overwrite a person's entire history, leaving them with no anchor to the truth. This leads us to the concept of the time tunnel itself, described as a swirling vortex of light and sound that felt like being stretched through a straw. Those who traveled through it reported seeing visions of multiple timelines, some where the war had ended differently, and others where humanity had already vanished. Was Montauk a gateway to these alternate realities? The physical evidence at Camp Hero remains puzzling, with the massive radar tower still standing as a sentinel over the Atlantic. Why would the government leave such a conspicuous landmark if they wanted the site forgotten? Some believe the tower itself acts as a massive antenna for ongoing signals that keep the local population in a state of mild amnesia. There are reports of strange electromagnetic anomalies that drain the batteries of cameras and phones within minutes of approaching the old bunkers. Hikers often find themselves disoriented, walking in circles despite following clear paths, as if the space around the base is warped. The rumors of the underground city continue to grow, with stories of high-speed maglev trains connecting Montauk to other secret bases across the United States. These tunnels are said to be carved by nuclear-powered boring machines, moving miles beneath the crust of the Earth, away from any public oversight. The deeper we go into the claims of Nichols and Bielek, the more we find a narrative of total control, a world where even our thoughts are not our own, and our past is subject to change at the whim of a computer program. The sheer scale of the power required to run the Montauk Chair was immense, reportedly drawing enough electricity from the local grid to cause rolling blackouts across the island. This energy was focused into a series of superconducting magnets that created a localized distortion in the gravitational field. If these experiments were real, it would mean that our history is not a solid record, but a draft that can be edited by those with the right technology. We must ask ourselves, if you could change one moment in history, would you risk the stability of the entire universe to do it? The rusted iron and cracked concrete of Montauk serve as a silent warning of what happens when science outpaces morality and when the pursuit of power leads us into the void. It is a story of shadows, of lost boys, and of a radar that saw too much. The legacy of the Montauk Project lives on in our popular culture, influencing stories of secret laboratories and children with telekinetic powers. Yet the real terror lies in the possibility that the truth is stranger than any fiction. We are left with the echoing silence of the Atlantic coast and the haunting possibility that the truth is buried much deeper than we dare to dig. As the old radar dish continues to stare out at the sea, we must wonder if it is still listening for a signal from a time that has not yet happened. Could the project be waiting for the right moment to reactivate and finish what was started in 1983? The mystery remains unsolved, a chilling reminder that some doors, once opened, can never truly be closed.